name's Lee. I'm 52. Yeah, so I've been into motorcycles since I was about 16, 17. They've meant a lot to me, different things to me over the years. When I was younger, it was all about speed and the ability to go fast, the freedom it gave me. And as I got a bit older, I sort of had a hiatus from bikes for a few years just because I was working and life got in the way of other things. But then I came back to it. And in my later days, I actually found that building bikes as opposed to riding bikes was one of the things that I really enjoyed as much, if not more, than the actual thing. But it's always been about motorcycles. When I started building and customizing and doing all of these things, I used to do it in my shed in the house, and you know, I was kind of new in town, so I didn't really know too many people, but I found out I needed help to do some stuff I couldn't do. So that was a time when I started going around a lot of the shops and trying to meet people and ask advice from other people and where's the best place to go, who's a good motorcycle shop in town, do we know any mechanics, who can do all this, that and the other. So that kind of got me out to meet people. It made me explore the other people on the other side of motorcycling, which was, there was actually a decent motorcycle culture in Orange. It was just a bit sort of split. There wasn't too many people getting into the same sort of things that I was wanting to do, and then it came around a little bit after that I met a good bunch of guys and we started chatting about it, and it kind of brought me out my shed more, and it brought me out my shed to go and stand in their shed and point at motorcycles and just have a chat. How did you do that? Or can you help me with this, because I've got that, and yeah, I'm colourblind, but I'll do the wiring for you, you know, we'll give it a go, we'll see what we can do. So it made me come out my shell. So I actually started riding bikes again, because we'd put these bikes together, built them, and then you want to show them off. But around the place I was living, Orange, I was staying in Orange, and I realised I actually wanted to ride a bit more, not massive rides and not big racing things where I have to go 100 kilometres an hour everywhere. I just wanted to go along at a sedate pace with a bunch of good people, stop for a coffee the other side, and not necessarily talk about motorbikes, because that's all there is. You realise that life experiences gives you a lot of things that you're actually interested in a bit more, you know. So it was actually a good way to bring all of these things out of me. I got to build bikes, I got to ride around a lot more, I got to meet a good bunch of people, and through meeting a good bunch of people, a lot of them become your mates. Yeah, so that was what I was hoping for, but I didn't realise I was hoping for that until I'd found it. And then inevitably, when you've got a good bunch of people, good friends you can talk to, things like men's health came up in it. Yeah. And what can we do? There was a few people around the table we spoke to, myself included, that have suffered a little bit during our years and not knowing why, not having a reason for it, not really understanding it, realised, was I going through it all myself? Yeah. You know, did anybody know or care? And then I actually realised that people do know and they do care, and a lot of people know what you're talking about because they've experienced it themselves. Yeah, right. They'll say a lot of things like, you know, just I would rather be myself in my shed. And that's fair enough, you know, but sometimes when you do need to ask for help, you need to leave your shed and go and do those sorts of things. But just to getting out there, they're meeting more people, they're having cups of coffee, the banter is actually part of it, laughing a good bit more, and it's kind of funny to say this, but laughing at somebody else's misfortune. People when they run out of petrol on a motorcycle ride is that one will go down in annals of history, you know. But little things like that, when you realise you can laugh again, and you can realise you can let other people laugh at yourself because it's good-natured, it's not malicious, because you've done something that in the past you may have chastised yourself because of, how could I actually let that happen? But if you're with a good bunch of mates on a motorcycle ride, stuck in the middle of nowhere because you've got to pull the tank off one other bike to fill the other bike with no petrol, it's actually quite a laughing moment. We one of the other things I really enjoyed is I've been about riding motorcycles, and I like the company and the motorcycle rallies. I always have done in the UK. We used to go to some of the biggest ones. We'd travel for days just to get there. we'd do our thing for the weekend, and then we'd spend all the next couple of days travelling back up. Obviously chucked a few sickies because nobody knew I was doing that sort of distance. But here we did the Little Blue Ride, and that was one of these things that there was a lot of people we didn't know just turned up because they'd heard this was going on.
Yeah.
And remembering those sorts of things, that when you were younger and more casual, it was like, well, let's go and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And a few people were surprised, and we were surprised in organising something like that, that a lot of people could come and care about what it was for, the charity involved, the people it met, the bikes on show.
Yeah.
You know, it was good to see that most people made an effort, whether it was just to engage or whether it was to bring along the latest thing that they'd made, or just turn up for have a bit of a banter. My first motorcycle was a Kawasaki KE125. I got it in 1986. 1985.
Yeah.
And I was still too young to ride it legally on the roads, but I lived out in the middle of nowhere doing forestry on the forestry tracks. So I took this little lime green Kawasaki, brand new, up a lot of these dirt roads, forestry roads, tracks, and just learned how to ride. And funnily enough, because you've got a new motorcycle, you don't know how long it lasts, you know, fuel-wise and how far you can go, and I ended up running out of fuel. And this was in the middle of nowhere in a pine plantation, and I had to push the bike back to a spot I could hide it in the bushes, and then walk all the way back up to where I was staying and get some petrol, get somebody to drive me out there. And I remembered to myself, check your fuel. Or at least get to know your fuel tap. So yes, and that was a good bike, and from that one I came across a few other little things. An RD200 was one of my next ones. Look, plans for future bikes, I would still love, and I've always loved them, is a JPZ 750 turbo, the best turbo that came out, and still one of the best turbos that are on the market, you know. And I'd like to do a mild custom with it. I'd also like to have when I settle down and get a place again, I would like to have a bike as a daily driver, and that might be one from the collection, or it might just be something completely different altogether. That I might even go for the tourer with the panniers and all that, just so I can get out a bit more. It won't be a Harley, that much I do know. I went through that phase. I'm just not a Harley person. Nothing wrong with Harleys, I'm just not that person. Just like I'm not a dirt bike person anymore, or a scrambler person. I do like my old classic road bikes, or just things that I have a real affinity with.
Well, I think that's about it. You've done well.
Yeah, cool.
There's enough there, unless you want to throw something else in. There's,
Nah.
You cover it all in that first section.
First rambling.
Yeah.
What did you just ask him? How are you?
I just asked what his name was.
Yeah.